Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the CURT Class 2 trailer hitch receiver on a 2023 Volkswagen Tiguan. The great part is it's a hidden cross tube, meaning the only thing you're really going to see exposed from your vehicle is going to be the 1.25" receiver tube opening. Now, being a smaller size than the standard 2" means that you're going to be a little bit limited when it comes to ball mounts, bike racks, or cargo carriers, but I have one of these on my vehicle as well, and it hasn't stopped me from being able to get accessories for it. You'll just have to make sure that you are picking it up for 1.25". Now, all of those accessories are going to stay in place with a 1/2" pin and clip, which is not included with the hitch. A lot of times your accessories, when you pick those up, will come with one, but if you want to get a locking version, we have plenty of options available here at eTrailer, which is really nice if you plan on leaving your accessories on. You can lock that in place and know that no one's going to walk away with your accessories. We have a rolled style safety chain loop here, which makes it super easy if you plan on pulling a trailer to put your standard S hook or even a larger clevis style on here. Now, speaking of towing, this is a Class 2, so generally your 1.25" are pretty low weight, but the Class 2 give you a little bit better towing capacity, and this one comes in with a gross trailer weight rating of 3,500 pounds, and that's going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded onto it. Your tongue weight rating is going to be 350 pounds, which is going to be the downward pressure that's put on the inside of the receiver tube opening. So that's going to be a lot of your bike racks or cargo carriers, anything that's going to be suspended. Now, that's a decent weight capacity. You should be able to get 2 bikes loaded up on a bike rack or a cargo carrier loaded up on vacation and not have an issue. But if you plan on towing, you're going to want to check the vehicle's owner's manual to see what the vehicle is capable of towing, and then compare that with the hitch numbers as well as any components you'll be using. Take the lowest of those numbers so you stay safe. Now, many accessories will stow in a folded up position, which can get pretty close to the rear fascia. So from the center of our hitch pin hole to the furthest point of the rear fascia, we're coming in about 4¼ inches. That's going to be important when choosing those accessories to see where it's going to fold up. You want to make sure you're not making contact, scratching your fascia, and that you can actually put it in that position. Now, keep in mind, even if it clears, you're probably not going to be able to open up your rear hatch with those in that stowed position. But if you're using them, not a problem. Now, as far as ground clearance goes, this one comes in at right about 13 inches, and that's going to be important not only for choosing accessories to give you a little bit of extra wiggle room from them dragging on the ground, but also picking a ball mount. You can determine whether you need a rise or drop by measuring the coupler of the trailer and then comparing it with that height, and then you can figure out that rise or drop. Now, keep in mind with your suspended accessories like cargo carriers and bike racks, it's going to extend past the vehicle. So as you go up an incline, those are going to get pretty close to the ground. Mostly is important when going up steep inclines or on rocky or rough terrain, but the ground clearance is fairly decent on this. I'm going to walk you through all the steps to make sure you get yours installed. So let's take a look at that and get your hitch installed. To begin your installation, we're going to go ahead and remove this underbody shroud. Now, it's just going to be a series of Torx bits. A T25 is going to get these removed. You might want to have a nice organized spot to keep your hardware. That way, for reinstallation, you'll have all that necessary. But this is going to actually not get put back in place. It's going to give us that clearance for our hitch to live. So we'll start here at the corner and get this one removed. And then if you just kind of work your way along the bottom here, we'll go ahead and get those removed as well. Now, there's also 2 plastic nuts that are holding these in. You can see the kind of notch. You're going to want to use an extension to gain access to those. We'll go ahead and get those removed. Now, we can pull this out. You may have to kind of pull on the fascia a little bit. It's a fairly tight fit here, so just kind of whichever way works best to get this to drop out. And we are going to be lowering down the muffler, so if that's going to make it a little bit easier for you, you can also wait until we get those dropped down to get this removed. And we need to lower the muffler down pretty easy. Instead of prying on these isolators, this has a bracket that bolts into the frame. It's going to be a 13mm socket to accomplish this. So go ahead, get this removed, and this should lower down. We have one on each side. As this drops down further upstream, it's resting on the underbody panel, so that's going to keep it from, having too much stress on it. But this is enough for us to get our hitch up in place. So move along, we're gonna get our hardware set up. Now the hitch came with hardware, but that's kind of dependent on what your vehicle has. On our 2023, there are gonna be some bolts on the side of the frame rail that you're gonna look for. And if you have these in place, you're in luck because it's gonna make the installation just a little bit easier. These are gonna be a 16mm socket to get these removed. So go ahead, and there's gonna be a total of 4, 2 on each side. You can get these loosened up, remove those. Now with an extra set of hands, we're gonna get our hitch raised up, and I recommend having those bolts you just took out in hand. That way we can get one started on each side, just a few threads to hold the hitch up. It'll make getting the rest of the hardware back up easy. So Jake's gonna help me kind of raise this up over the muffler. This is loose, so you can kind of pull that down if you need a little bit of extra clearance. You may have to kind of move this around to get it aligned with that hole. You may notice when trying to get this back in, the holes aren't aligning, and that's because your bumper beam is actually attached to those weld nuts. So what you can do is reach in the center, and this bumper beam is loose. So if you kind of move that around, that's gonna help align those holes. So I'm just gonna kind of push on that as I'm trying to feed this in until we get this to drop in perfectly. It's gonna help too, once we get these started, it should hold that in place, making the other holes a lot easier. Once you get one started on each side, it's gonna hold itself up. We'll just raise this up and get the other hardware started as well. Tolerances might get pretty tight here. They use kind of a caulk to fill the seams. And if you need to, you might need to trim away at that. You can use a putty knife, a pocket knife, anything to kind of just cut some of this back. And that's what's hindering ours from raising up all the way. So if you need to cut some of this, you can go ahead and do that. So with that kind of trimmed out, that definitely made it a little bit easier. Now, something I will point out too is it is pushing a little bit on this rear fascia, and that's gonna fight you a little bit. They don't have anything in the instructions to say that you need to cut this out. You can do a little relief cut here, and that would help, but it's gonna be a lot easier to do with the hitch down. So if you wanna do that, you can just kind of make some marks here and up top and just kind of cut that out as necessary. Once you have all your hardware in, you'll go ahead and snug those down. Now you can see we're still able to get the hardware up without trimming it. It does curve up a little bit and doesn't really put any bad stress or anything like that. It's just gonna be a little bit tight here. So if you don't wanna cut, you can still get it installed without having to do that. Now we're gonna come back with our torque wrench and torque down those same bolts to the torque specifications in the instruction manual. Now a torque wrench is gonna make sure that it's gonna be tight enough for the lifespan of the hitch, but also not too tight, putting stress on those weld nuts. And if you need a torque wrench, you can pick one up here at eTrailer. You can generally go to an auto parts store and rent one for free. So with those torqued down, your hitch is officially installed. We do need to get our exhaust put back up. So just kind of raise this and put your hardware back in that slot, tighten it down. And that was a look and installation of the CURT Class 2 trailer hitch receiver on a 2023 Volkswagen Tiguan.